Welcome to a Cosmic Energy Update with multidimensional energy specialist Raquel Spencer.
I just really want to welcome you to this special weekend because it's been an intense week for many of us. There have been a lot of worldly events that have been going on. There has been a lot of earth and cosmic events that have been going on, a lot of earthquakes. Again, this week, especially in the Pacific Rim, which tends to be a real indicator of things that are coming on the worldly stage. And there's always things going on in the worldly stage, but this week has been kind of interesting in the symbology of what has happened and the awareness that so many people are having beyond the physical. And so it's a really interesting thing when we have worldly events that really bring a new level of consciousness, or at least awareness, to the masses. And we're hoping that we are experiencing the events in a way that does help all of humanity remember what is important, remember what is true and real. And of course, I'm talking about Notre Dame burning and the symbology of that, and the awareness that it's only a building. It's only a building. Yes, it holds a lot of significance, but it's only brick and mortar. And there are so many other things that are more important in our reality. And so there's been a lot of things happening that are pushing the boundaries. Yes, it brought us all together through a tragedy. And of course, Notre Dame was burning. There was a mosque in Jerusalem that was burning at the same time, almost exactly the same day, which didn't get nearly the coverage. But we were really experiencing some grand events on the world stage that most people could connect to. I mean, Notre Dame was an icon. Yes, it was very significant in religion, but it was more than that. When I think of Notre Dame, I forgot that it even was a cathedral for the church, if you will. It was just such a beautiful icon in the city of Paris. So it had many, many layers and many levels of connection for people. And so the symbology of it burning, transforming, the week of Easter, and the energy of the Catholic Church and the rebirth that is going on, it was really quite symbolic. And many, many people were able to rise above and see the symbology, which is really quite beautiful. And so as we sit in this energy, and of course we're coming out of the full moon that is at 29 degrees Libra. And the last full moon we had, which was on the equinox, was 0 degrees Libra. And it's kind of rare, if you will, to see a full moon cycle that begins at the 0 and ends at the 29th degree, which again is the last degree of the zodiac signs if you do it in equal. Around the zodiac and around the chart. And so we began this process of deep, how would you say it? Examination of our relationships a month ago with the equinox that came in. And of course, that was right before the triple Trinity 333 portal that happened. And so if we think back 30 days, back to that cycle, 28 days, 30 days of the third triple Trinity code activation and the full moon then, and now coming into this full moon of 29 degrees Libra that has really is the ending of really that examination. And we're getting ready for, again, a new cycle with new clarity around our relationships, new clarity around partnerships, and around how we want to participate with others in this reality, whether it's business relationships, love relationships, friendships, family. And so many of you have been going through a lot in the last month around relationships, whether you were really able to pinpoint and be aware of it or not. And so if you've had a lot of interaction, more than normal, with contracts, with family members, with partnerships that have kind of come to a head, then you're probably going to be very relieved to know we're coming out of that cycle, and whatever you've done to transform and elevate, to clear and come into a higher level of understanding over the last 30 days, is going to allow you to step into the next cycle. And yes, we're cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And we can go down to the smallest cycle, which many of us refer to as a day, the monthly cycle of the moon, whether it's a year cycle or whether it's the 26,000 year cycle. I mean, we just live in a world of cycles. And so when you start to really flow into that and allow that to carry you, knowing there is always a new beginning, there is always the next evolution, the next spiral up of the energy that we can play in. And remember, we're here to play. We're here to learn. We're here to evolve. We're here to look at all of this from a much higher perspective. And we can even do that from last month, a higher perspective of what is going on. But think about where you were last year or a decade ago. And so the evolution process, it's a continuous process, and how we learn and adapt and evolve to experience our reality in a new way is what this, and dare I say, game is really all about. Because the more aware we come, the more we step into our mastery, the more we understand the cycles and the symbology and the energy, we get to play and approach things from a different perspective. And I've said this from the very beginning of my work 20 years ago, that enlightenment is all about both the physical and the spiritual. It's about infusing your body with light, with the cells, the adamantine particles, with light, with actual photon and cosmic light that is allowing your physical body to shift, which affects all of your systems, which affects all of your neural processors, which then allows a new perception of reality. This is what enlightenment is all about. So when we talk about moving up into a new perspective, that is the awakening. That is the awareness and the illumination of being able to play in this reality from a new perspective, a new level of understanding. And so as we now go into the Easter energy, which is very much across the globe, we know that Catholic or Christian religions that actually celebrate Easter is the second largest religion on the planet. It spans every single continent. It's global. And so as we move now into this very heightened Christian awareness over the weekend, the Christ consciousness and what that really means. When we talk about Christ consciousness, many still work from the religious aspects. But you and I know that the Christ consciousness is an illumination of the way we perceive. It is about a consciousness that comes from the heart in the way that we move through our reality. So again, as we step into now this Christ consciousness energy and elevate our perspective, our perceptions from a whole nother level again than we were a year ago around what Christ consciousness really means. And so it's an exciting weekend. It's been a very intense weekend, but a very elevated weekend for many of us, because this cycle that ends with this full moon at 29 degrees Libra is really closing down another chapter. We are ready to elevate and illuminate so much more around the whole aspect of relationships, consciousness, and Christ consciousness. So it's exciting to be in the awareness right now as we move into yet another springboard of moving into action. We're bringing in the Northern Hemisphere, coming into the spring action energy of really taking now what we've gleaned even over the last 30 days and over the last week with the events that have happened, and really approach the way we live our lives from another elevated level of experience. And so as we do this, I invite you to really hold those concepts of relationship and take it to a new level of relationship with religion and Christianity and the Christ consciousness. So moving out of our own experience of who we're hanging with or who we're in relationship with on a very individual level, and move it now into the global Christ consciousness and the relationship of what that really means, and holding the vision for the Christ consciousness elevated way of interacting, and move it out of the religious dogma, and holding the vision across the board in the grids and in the consciousness for that to help illuminate in the hearts of the millions and millions and millions and millions of people. How many billion do we have on the planet? I'm sure at least half of that are really tied into this Christian holiday. And hold the vision that they may see the truth beyond the trappings of a church and into the consciousness of what the message of Christ really was. Ooh, I didn't expect all of that. So to be so entrained in the religious, but with the burning of Notre Dame, it was truly symbolic and a transformational energy. And we're riding that wave right now. And so hold that vision for the world to illuminate beyond the trappings of a religion and truly in to Christ consciousness.